Love, exciting and new.
Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever.
It's a love.
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships of Bermudan and British Registry.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, this half hour brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, waters, soft drinks, lots and lots of snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and out every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. Ready to drink cocktails now. High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal. And the pickle bar led by my two favorites, the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. One of my best friends, without question, the great Chris Wheeler. Wheels, how are you?
I'm good, Steve. I heard that intro, and it said Penn State Sports and More, so I guess I'm more today.
That's okay. Most days I'm more.
Yeah, I got you. I'm good. I'm in Florida. I've been down here about a month, and it was a little shaky for a while like it was everywhere, but it's been really nice for about 10 days. So, I've had a tee in the ground without a hammer, so that's always a nice feeling.
Oh, that's really good. It's interesting. I was talking to a couple of people when I was out in California. We got back this morning, and we were out there for several days. The UCLA-USC swing. And they were saying that for them, they used to have the excitement of spring training. And these guys that work it, and they said it's so different now that they don't have the same feeling about it. Do you see that, or is it different?
Well, I think everything is different in every sport. The sports you're doing are different. Baseball spring training at one time used to be such a focal point for people, but there's so much overlapping in sports now, and I think it kind of gets lost with a lot of things. To some people, it's still really important. I still love it because it's been my life, so I look forward to it. Do I have the same anticipation every year as I did before? Maybe not. But I still think it's a significant part of our sports calendar because, look, no offense to football, but who cares about preseason, football camp in July when it's so hot?
I know.
And you go to those exhibition games in Philly in August. I mean, nobody wants to be there because nobody plays. The regulars and. So I think, and basketball, hockey, everything's inside. So I think there's still something about our spring training that's unique because it's played in the warm climates of Florida and Arizona, where a lot of people escape that to come down here and spend what they hope is a week or so of good weather. So I think that's still really significant and important.
Well, I'll tell you what I see is that people just want to go down and do exactly that because those ballparks, for the most part, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in this, they're mostly filled down there during the course of the spring because people just want to be there.
Attendance is good down here. I'm not sure of Arizona. I'm not, familiar with that, and I think they do well out there. But, on our coast over here, we do well. We really do. Having the Yankees nearby and Toronto, who get a lot of people come down from Canada, and our fans are been great over the years, and they love our ballpark because it's still, in my opinion, the best one. A lot of them have tried to imitate it over the years, but it's still tremendous to come and watch a game and have the quote-unquote tiki bar out there in left field where people like to go, and they never see a pitch unless a ball comes screaming in there, but the net stops them. At least they hear somebody yell duck, and they turn around and look. So, there's still something about it, and because of the success of the Phillies in the last few years too, we have a lot of sellouts. We had a little lull there for a while with COVID, and like everybody did around that time. But it's good again, and I know a lot of people are thinking about coming down here. It's obviously it's Eagle mania in Philadelphia right now, which we're all happy about, especially for us Penn Staters who love Saquon Barkley and knew what he was like before anybody knew what he was like in pro football. But we're expecting a big houses this year in spring training. Yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, let me ask you about. I do want to ask you a Saquon question because it's not like Wheels has never been to a practice. He has.
Yeah.
What was the point that you looked at and said, "Oh my goodness, this guy could be incredible"?
First time I saw him, people like you had alerted me to him. That boy and Kevin Threlko, who's coach's chief of staff, and I became very close friends over the years, as you know, and he had told me about him, and not only was he this unbelievable talent, but he was this unbelievable human being, too, and that we were so lucky that he decided to flip from Rutgers and come to Penn State. So, I was lucky enough to see him a little bit, and, that combination of speed and power was ridiculous. I was lucky enough to be introduced to him by Deej, Dwight Galt, Junior, or the third or fourth. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but you know who I mean by Deej, who became Renee and I became good friends with him. We were in the weight room one day, and he was standing right near us, and Deej introduced him to us. So and he, of course, that big smile and was very, very gracious. And I knew about him as a person and as a player before a lot of people in the sport were lucky enough to see him on display. And I knew if they could get him out of New York and get him with a team could block for him a little bit, he'd be. When they made that move last year, I said to a lot of people, "Oh man, this is going to change their whole franchise because this guy's going to light it up because he not only can run the football, he can catch it too, as we well knew." So, were they going to win a Super Bowl? I don't know, Steve. I don't think that, but they did, and I'm happy for them and for him.
Yeah, no, it's done a lot for the city because it was the second day of training camp his freshman year. And Jack called me after practice because I say, "Hey, Steve, I'm going to be coming up this weekend." He says, "Just give me a couple things. What should I, who should I be looking at?" And I said, "Just spend about a half an hour watching the Barkley kid." He says, I said, this is different. That's all I said to him. He said, "This is different."
Right.
They ran. Okay, you'll love this. They ran an Oklahoma drill, and Barkley's the running back. And Wheels, with all due respect to the three guys that were in front of him, okay, none of them made a block. And he danced, juked, and then accelerated and scored a touchdown on it. And he sat back and went, "Okay."
Yeah, just silly. You know what that is, as you well know, is that's the eye test. In baseball, we kind of call it the hearing test. I don't know if that's the right word. Sound, but you can stand around a batting cage and have your back turned. And certain guys, when they hit, you go, "Ooh, that's different." The sound that it makes coming off the bat. Well, that's what Barkley was with that power and speed combination, and is to this day.
And you know what? I use the sound test not just obviously in terms of like hitting, but when I with kickers.
Yeah.
What? Also, you're like, okay. You're not looking at it, and you're like, okay, wait a minute. I got to turn around and see that. Who is pounding it like that?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things you look for. It's amazing in a world of analytics that if you get a completely different impression. Brad Nessler and I were talking about this. Seeing it for yourself is just completely different than reading off numbers.
Amen. People used to say to me, what do you think of this guy and what do you think of this guy? And I say, look, let me watch him for a year and I'll tell you. Because after you watch a baseball player for a year, and I mean a season, are they an everyday player? Are they a role player? Are they a fringe AAA major league guy? That sort of thing. One thing about our sport is you can't hide. You can't get in the middle of something and just be a part of it and hide in there. You're right out in the open the whole time. And you can, I don't know, you could just tell whether or not the guy. Charlie Manuel used to say that one of the hardest things to do in sports is be everyday Major League Baseball player because of the skills involved and the time and the games you play and all that. So I always felt you had to give a guy a year in the big leagues. Some of them explode quicker than that, obviously.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you really need some time to watch them. So that's the way I always evaluated Major League players. People ask me, what do you think of this guy? I'll tell them, I said, I haven't seen him. And now, of course, I don't see them like I used to.
Right.
But if I haven't seen a guy, I was never going to pump him up or put him down or something like that until I watched him play.
And that's, I tell people all the time, and you know this, is that they'll recruit somebody, and he has a star value assigned to him, 4-star, 5-star, and they'll say, "What do you think?" And I'll say, "Well, in training camp, when they're going up against comparable talent, that's when I'll let you know what I think." And the other part about sports is this: people adjust to you. The ones that have longevity are the ones that have the ability to adjust back.
Boy, is that true! And in football, college football, which you, of course, are so good at evaluating things, baseball is a failure sport, period.
Oh, God, yes.
You make it out 7 out of 10 times, you say, hey, he may put in the Hall of Fame, that guy.
Yeah.
So you failed 7 out of 10 times.
Right.
And pitching, it's gotten a little different for pitching now because they accentuate velocity so much more than they used to, and that's why I think there's so many arm injuries. That's another whole show we could do. But baseball is a game. I've been around so many really, really good players, friends that are Hall of Famers, and the one thing that was common with them when they were going well, they were always thinking about when was it going to stop and when was I going to go into a slump.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
You knew it was going to happen.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I always avoided with baseball. And because I've done baseball, the last 20 years I do baseball all the time. I always avoid that question about how well you're going right now. Because you learn right away that they think they are 1-0 for 4 from a slump.
It's true. It really is. And then you have the thing in our sport where, you get a pitch comes in and whacks you on the finger or something. Well, it's not like you can tape it up and play. Then you're done for a while, and then you have to start all over again when you come back. So it's an incredibly difficult sport to play that some people don't appreciate because, quote unquote, it's too slow, it's not violent enough, whatever. And I've gotten to the point in my life whereas I love the game, I understand why people like it or don't like it. I always said, we'll put a clock on football one time and see how many plays are run. I mean, how much action there is when you're not in commercial or Rogers talking about something or, those kind of things. There's a lot of downtime. But it's just different the way people look at it. I totally get it. But sometimes I get a little defensive about baseball. I think we've done some things to improve it. The clock definitely improved, and some of the other things. But the game itself is a little more cerebral. You are able to talk to your people that you're with or something more than you can at a football game and those kind of things. But they're very different. And sometimes I'm over it now because I'm going to be 80 this year, and I have my career and everything, and so I'm kind of over being on the defensive about our sport and all that. And I always try to say, look, I like other games too, and if you don't like our game, it's your problem. You're missing something.
My love for the game that's never changed. I do like the clock. I mean, I don't need to have a guy step out of the box and go around in a circle. Or, Nomar Garcia-Parra couldn't have put on the gloves the right way the first time.
Yeah, that's so true.
But the game there's a beauty to it. Whomever thought 90 feet was a great distance sure did know what they were talking about. 60 feet 6 inches, they knew what they were talking about. I mean, it's amazing. Like, and you're right, it's cerebral. I do like the no shift, and I do like the clock, and I think that's helped out a little bit. But that's me.
Well, you brought up the no shift. That's terrific. I mean, that really helped. And you've been around sports your whole life. People they obviously. Hey, look, one of the great things about being a fan is you think you're better than the people that are down there, and you can do it, and you can't, of course, and you can't. I mean, that's what we used to say about this fantasy camp or dream week that we have now, where guys come down and pay thousands of dollars to come down here and pull a hamstring. Because they think that they can be a professional athlete and do these kind. Well, you can't. But that's one of the charms of the game, I think, is to identify with it. Sometimes in football it goes the other way because they sit in the crowd and they think they're as tough as those guys down there, and then they want to fight everybody. We don't have as much of that, and certainly at Penn State we don't have as much of that. But we do have it in Philadelphia.
Yeah, but you know what? I had to MC. They had the New York Penn League All-Star game here, so they decided to do a celebrity home run contest. And a big guy came up, and he says, "I'm going to hit 10 home runs." And I looked at him, and I'm messing with him, and all I said was, "No, you're going to hit none." "No, I'm going to hit 10." So you're not going to hit any, because you and I both know it's further out there than people realize, right? Oh. So I was actually being somewhat serious with him. So after the first 3 swings, he leans over to me and he says, "You're right, I'm not going to hit any." It's tougher than you thought, isn't it?
Right now, I'm wishing for contact.
Exactly. All right, so look, in all fairness, this is the part where Wheels asks me questions.
Well, I appreciate this because, during the season we don't get to talk as much, and I just bug you with text once in a while. I ask you your opinion on things, and you're nice enough to reply to me.
You bug me. Yeah, sure.
Well,
right. Yeah, come on, man.
All right. Well, you know how much I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to tell you, one thing for when Jim Knowles and you get to hang out a lot together. Yeah. I have a friend of mine that I play golf with down here who's from Philly, and he was from the North Philadelphia area where Jim Knowles is from. Yeah. And when we got him recently, he said, "Well, you see, first of all, people that are from Philadelphia know when they ask where you're from, Philadelphia. Yeah, no, yeah, what neighborhood and what parish you're from, because that's what it is. So that's this guy was from a parish. He knows that Jim Knowles was from St. Williams, evidently, and he said they're mean. They're really tough in that parish." So I understand he can be a little bit gruff, and he's a football coach. So I think you're going to have a good time with him. And what did you think when you heard about it?
Oh no! Again, this is what I thought. That James identified what he thought was the best person for the job and was allowed to go and get him. And I think that's important, that he was told to get the best person. Don't worry about the other parts. We'll work it out. And I think that's important. And Jim is one of those guys that in the office, He emerges from the office. He's got a plan, right? Yeah. And look. He grew up in the neighborhoods with the police, the firemen, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're right. Tough. St. Williams, tough. You know?
Tough.
Yeah.
Tough. As my buddy said, tough kids.
Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, and he'll be up in the box, and he just has a great feel for the game, and that's the part I admire, the fact that Penn State has an opportunity to do a lot of really good things this year, and the fact that James was given the green light. Which guy did you identify as the best? Okay, if you think he's the best, go get him.
Hey, how different is that right now? That you said twice the green light to go do things, or
yep.
Some people say the resources to do the things now that we weren't able to do before. How important do you think that is?
Oh, I think that's incredibly important, especially in this environment that you have. Now, I think you have more financial flexibility to do it now. The TV deal, the new radio deal that we're involved in is, people don't realize how much more money that is. Trying to think how it worked out for Jack and I. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's always the thing that I used to think too, and say, and we're not talking about you.
It's more money, but don't worry. You're doing fine. But that's important. It's going to come into play with the running back thing too. I mean, as to who he identifies and who they go out and get. I mean, but he got Andy Koltonicki last year. Now he's got Jim Knowles this year. And that's all part of alignment. And alignment, as you know, when Charlie Manuel had great alignment with the front office, look what the Phillies did.
Yeah. Hey, you just mentioned the running back thing. Sider, J1 Sider, is that a big loss? Because I used to read and hear from you and from other people what a big recruiter he was, too, especially in Florida.
Oh, no, J1, I personally like him not a lot. I thought he did a great job, especially getting Penn State's tentacles into Florida and doing as well as he did. I kept wondering when he might leave.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, after the Orange Bowl, once it got to January 31, I was like, okay, well, okay.
Yeah.
So when I was out in California on Sunday, I went, okay. I was like, all right. So now, but James is right. You could get an up-and-coming guy, but do you want to take 2 years when you've got some stuff cooking now? Do you want to get somebody who's had a great reputation but might be on the downside? So, I mean, there's that balancing act, but I think they're starting to zero in on who they want. But but again, that's that balancing act that you're looking for, because it's with Katron and Nick, it is a rather attractive job.
Speaking of those two, on the wow factor or surprise factor, where were you when you heard they were, not one of them were coming back, but both of them were? Because I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Right. I was pretty sure, just on gut feel, that Singleton was probably going to come back.
Wow.
Katron was the one I wasn't sure about. And when he said yes, I went, okay. This works. I mean, this is there aren't going to be many 1-2 combinations like this in college football this year. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, and the two of them, they've done such a great job with coach and the staff and all of using that two-back offense where they're not all beaten up right now.
Well, and that was always been, especially from like Tim Singleton, who's Nick's father. He's talked to Katron and said, look, the wear and tear on you is going to be exponentially less because of this. You'll be better for it. I think Katron has seen that, because you saw how he ran in the postseason. He was fresh and ready to go.
Awesome. Hey, the offensive line is still good, huh? It looks like with guys coming back and guys We lost one big player from the offensive line. That I was very
your
fond
guy.
of. But
your guy.
Other than that, we're yeah, I know you say it. My recruit.
That's right, Sal Wormley. Well, after 6 years, Wheels, that's Chuck Nolan would say it's time to get on with your life's work.
Yeah. Sal Wormley had a pretty good career, but boy, it looks like they're in line to. With guys that are coming back and other guys to replace them, that the outfit. And look, why did Saquon Barkley get better? Well, you and I were just talking about it because of those guys up front.
Yeah.
So, man, that sounds great that they're going to have so many of those guys.
I mean, Sheldon got better as time went last year because people, remember he had to overcome an off-season surgery. Okay, Ioane is a major league player. Getting Dawkins back at center helps so much. You've got Nolan Rucci, who played so well down the stretch. You're going to get Donko back. Cooper Cousins is a good player. J.B. Nelson's coming back. You talk about cohesion on an offense.
This episode is brought to you by Abercrombie. Build your fits of the day with Abercrombie's newest denim drop. Here's where to start. Abercrombie's 90s straight jean goes with any shirt from tees to sweater polos. Super versatile. Their loose and baggy jeans are more trend-forward, so you can grab those and go out with your friends. Abercrombie's denim fits come in a range of washes. Build your looks around Abercrombie denim. Shop online or in-store.
What is a tradition of trust? It's more than just words. It's a promise. A promise that when you walk into Sunbury Motors Ford, you're not just another customer. You're family. It's 110 years of handshakes that mean something. Of fair deals, honest service, and putting you first. And right now, that means huge savings on the Ford you want. Pick from 35 new Ford Escapes with savings up to $7,700, starting at $24,915. Or choose from 32 new Ford Bronco Sports, discounted up to $7,000, priced as low as $28,935. Need power? We've got 51 new Ford F-150s, slashed up to $12,616, starting at $45,974. Plus, take up to $10,000 off new Ford Broncos and a massive $13,000 off new Ford Expeditions. Sunbury Motors Ford in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza and at sunburymotors.com. Sunbury Motor Company, a tradition of trust since 1915.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Again, I'm the Moore. It's the Chris Wheeler hour. Wheels, we're having fun.
Are you there?
I'm here. Oh, yeah. No, we're having fun.
I knew something was off when they were talking about Vladimir Putin, and I said, well, I'm out of my league now.
Well, now, I mean, we went from Charlie Manuel to Vladimir Putin. I mean, it's like, that's a jump.
That's a real stretch.
Yeah, that's a jump. I mean, it's like, okay. Oh, yeah, we're talking about the offensive line part. I mean, the cohesion part of that. And when you already know you have 7 guys back, and it doesn't mean other guys, the younger guys, can develop. You've got a situation now where you have 7 older players. And what you have, Wheels, is that it then buys time for some of the younger guys because it's the hardest spot in the field to develop, in my opinion. That really helps. I mean, that helps a lot.
Oh, that was such a good feeling, and I heard about the running backs. That was great. But when the offensive line was coming back, so I got to ask you, whatever time we have left, about defense, because you lose Abdul Carter and you lose people like that and keep losing really good defense. And you lose your safeties, and Winston couldn't play this year. Right. How do you think about reloading that defense right now?
Well, getting denied Dennis Sutton to come back was huge.
Right.
I thought that was important. Smith Vilbert's coming back. Now, Amin Vanover had petitioned the NCAA to see if he could get an extra year because he had played 5 games one season, 7 games another year. But the NCAA ended up denying that, so that's not going to happen. Zane Durant coming back is important. Getting DeLuca back is important. Tony Rojas being back, because Jim will usually is a 2 linebacker guy, but he also has a position. This is interesting. I'll get to the secondary in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about the position that he has used almost everywhere: Western Michigan, Duke, and Oklahoma State. Didn't quite use it as often at Ohio State, but it's a position he calls the jack. And he says it's that guy that knows how to play, that kind of cleans up messes and makes plays for you. And, man, that sounded like Dominic DeLuca. I mean, it's just
wow.
I mean that's what it sounded like to me. Now, I'm going to have to see if that plays out in real time.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if it plays out in real time. But then you've got Keon Wiley's going to be back. That's really big. Zariah Fisher's going to be back. That's really big. I mean, people forget they weren't a part of the mix last year. And it's easy to forget because you're seeing every game and they're not out there. I've got that. A.J. Harris has a chance to be, I think, a major league corner. Zion Tracy, Elliott Washington, John Mitchell, the freshman. Really like him, not a little, like him a lot. They took Antoine Belgrave shorter. He's been a safety. Jim likes to play the 3 safeties. King Mack transferring back is tremendous. And Zakee Wheatley's a major leaguer to begin with. A kid named Vabu Toure. I mean, it's really... I got to tell you, right? It's a fun time to be here.
I think one of the when I first heard James talking about, my second string and my third string, I got pretty good players there basically right now. And if somebody goes down, which they're always going to go down, that's with football. At least you have some people, and they practice against each other. So that I would think that has to make them better. I mean, you see practices.
Oh, it does. Now, James is selective, but he makes sure in every practice there's, quote, good on good. All right, and he'll put them in situations good on good, and I think that makes both sides a lot better. And, that's important when you can do that. Now, with Jim coming in, one of the things that you're going to have to do, and they're in the process of doing this now, for the most part, they've kept the terminology the same here, and it's been the coach that's had to adapt. So, that's something that Jim will have to do. I mean, he's going to obviously have to figure out whether he gets, a few things in there that he wants to do with it. But he has to figure out personnel. What can they do? What can't they do? And then the terminology to go with it as to how he wants to go about it. Now, what also helps is this, and this is where you know this better than anybody. You know that Terry Smith, Deion Barnes, Anthony Poindexter, and Dan Connor are all we people.
Yep.
They are not me people. Hey, my group, it's like your own separate fiefdom in there. These are we people. And Terry, I think it's safe to say that when you ask Terry a question, you are getting a blunt answer.
Yeah, he's a good man. I was lucky enough to meet him a few times through you and Kevin when I was up there, and he would always come over to people that were standing on the, like if I was in a walkthrough or something like that, and come over and introduce himself and say hi, and I'm thinking, I know you. You're a really good player, too.
Oh. Well, you know what I always kid him about? I said, you're the only guy I know, and it was in the Rutgers game, and it was in the Holiday Bowl, where he split out and nobody covered him, and he got touchdowns. I said,
Right.
I said, Terry, that's a lesson for your defensive backs. I said it's easier to score when you're not covered.
Yeah, well, he knows what those guys are trying to do against them anyway. Haven't been one of them. Which brings me to this, of course. They don't want to go anywhere negative or anything, but what's our situation with wide receivers? And, you know, we lose those two guys that transfer and all that. And I know you can't say everything, but what's your feeling on that whole thing?
Well, you know what? First of all, I like Hudson a lot, coming in from USC, because I watched enough USC video to get ready for the game, and he was the guy that, to me, on the video stuck out more than anybody else. And I thought, boy, terrific. Well, when I heard they had a chance to get him, I was like, wow, he's really going to help. And then Ross, I don't know as much about, because it's not like I sit there and go, hey, it's Thursday night, let's watch Troy football. No offense to the world, right? But I've heard about the speed, that he can be a game breaker. I'm anxious to see it in person. I think that's going to be important. I think it's going to be interesting to see Tysier Denmark, because I think he has a chance to develop. He may not be like you put a watch on him and go, whoa, no. But he's the kind of guy that he's got that wiggle to him, right? And he gets himself open. I think that really helps a lot. So I'm anxious to see what he does. I'm anxious to see what a couple of the recruits do, including Matthew Outen and Lyric Samuel, to see how maybe they fit into this whole thing. So there's a little more there that I'm really excited about that I think can make a difference. And we'll see what else they can do in the portal. There's still another sequence of that to go through. And then the tight ends. We all know Tyler Warren was, let's face it.
He's different.
You can't put it. You can't quantify what he meant. But you've got Luke Reynolds back, and boy, did he come on. Andrew Rappelier will be back, which helps. And Khalil Dinkins, wheels. He can block. He makes catches. Dinkins is a good player. So they got some pretty good things here. A lot of pieces.
Yeah, well, you and Jack really made me aware of watching Dinkins when, because I'm like every football fan. I'm not I know a little more than people think.
Oh, you know a lot.
I'm not one that really, but it's so cool in football to be able to watch not just the play itself, but to watch what other people are doing once in a while. When you look at that, like you guys have a great ability to do, and that's one of the things that I was tuned into more and more over the last year or so with you and Jack talking about the way he blocks, and it's unbelievable how many times you'll see a play extended because of him just brushing somebody or pancaking them.
Guys in practice don't like going up against him.
That
tells you a lot, because Jack picks up on all that stuff all the time. Because I'm following the ball, and it happens to me in my field of vision. I might say something, but like Jack sees, it's always once as an analyst, you don't have to tell the what. Your job's to explain the why.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And Jack explains the why, and many times when Dinkins is out there, he's part of the why.
Well, that whole tight end room for 3, 4, 5 years now has been so good, and I can't help but think that helps with recruiting too, because we keep getting these guys because these kids want to play in the NFL. So you say, well, look who's in the NFL. Can they play here at Penn State?
Yeah, exactly, and you're looking now at a lineage of tight ends in the NFL. And Warren will be the latest, where it's one after another. And then you find out in recruiting they got another one. Well, doggone it, if I were a tight end, I'd be hoping for a letter from this place.
Right, or flip a guy from Michigan.
Yeah. Same thing.
Which is, well, I'll say that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. It really is. It's a lot of fun. Hey,
well, that kid you mentioned real quick, that hurt. I don't want to say because they never mentioned injuries, but it looked like he hurt his knee last year. Andrew, how do you pronounce his last name?
Rappleyea.
I mean, he's a great prospect, too, and he got hurt early last year, right?
I mean, yeah, he got hurt early, and he had been early on the number 2 guy because Dinkins had been in and out a little bit. Well, he was going to play instead of Reynolds.
Yeah.
Right? Well, then, of course, Reynolds came on, and we all know he can run a fake punt. But Reynolds really came on in a lot of ways. And you know what? You know what you got here, Wills? Because of the way it played out, Rappleyea has some experience. Reynolds has some experience. Dinkins has a lot of experience. You're not starting from square one with those 3. So it actually, you don't want it to work out the way it did because of the injury, but I think that's really good.
That's pretty big nowadays, too, because you talk about it all the time, that they can play 4 games, and then they can shut them down, and then they can still play in any postseason that you're in.
I'll give you one. I mentioned Johnny Mitchell, okay? John Mitchell, okay? He's able to redshirt, but in the playoff game against SMU, they put him on kickoff return. That onside kick that SMU had, it's John Mitchell that made the recovery. Right. So they got in. Some of those guys got into the mix, and it didn't count against them on their clock, which is really cool.
Yeah. Well, I've asked you enough, right? Don't you have more show to go, or are we still going here?
I have to actually take a commercial break because even though I'm pretty much doing this out of my own personal charity, the producer's making a ton of money, so they've got to pay him off.
Well, I'm here if you want to do more. If you want to sign off, feel free. I'm good.
I think we will transition out because it might be easier logistically. Because you and I can take this show to 5 o'clock.
We're like a football game right now where a team had a 10-minute drive right now to shoot, and they're backed up with commercials.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. This is that drive against Indiana a few years ago. 17 plays, 9:02, right? And the TV guys in the truck are like, what do we do? Well, when they score the touchdown, we'll do commercials. Then we'll kick off. We'll do more commercials.
That's right. We'll try and fit in a series here once in a while.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Oh, my good friend. What a blast. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I couldn't have had more fun. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I'm always here for you anytime you want to talk. I cherish our friendship and being able to do this. I wish I could see you more, but I'll work on that.
Same here. We will work on that. Thanks, Wills.
Right,
you're the best.
Anytime, Steve. See you, Trent.
He is the greatest. He is the greatest. All right, we'll come back because Todd, being the taskmaster that he is, says, hey, look, you've got to get another break in. Now, I wouldn't have yelled like that, Todd. I would have subtly asked. First, next time Todd yells will be the first time. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.